Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Gwen Jacobsen, and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 17, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, our staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. This week's edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press is dated Friday, November 11th, 2022, which is also Remembrance Day. On the front page, we have a beautiful picture of a celebration that took place in Neepawa last week. The grand opening of Neepawa's new RCMP detachment building took place on Friday, November 4th. And here we have a picture of the Deputy Mayor Murray Parrott, RCMP Staff Sergeant Colby Argue, retired Staff Sergeant Mark Moorhouse, and Mayor Brian Headley, who cut the ribbon on the new 7,663-foot square facility. And I might as well stay on that subject. By Owen Devereaux. Local law enforcement has a new home in Neepawa as the doors have officially opened on the Spruce Place RCMP's new detachment building. The recently completed project is located on a portion of land directly south of the town's current fire hall. The new police station is 7,663 square feet in size, a little over twice as big as the old building located on the 200 block of Mill Street. That facility was built in 1987 by the town at a cost of just $376,200. This new detachment, meanwhile, cost $4.45 million to construct and features expanded office and meeting spaces as well as upgraded cell capacity. An official grand opening for the new facility was held on Friday, November the 4th. The event featured local dignitaries as well as representatives from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. In his opening remarks at the event, Neepawa Mayor Brian Headley said that this was a day that everyone in attendance has been looking forward to for quite some time. So this is an exciting day for us. Welcome to the grand opening of the new Neepawa RCMP detachment. We stand here today proud to be part of the opening of the new detachment that shall proudly serve Neepawa and the greater region for years to come, said Headley. It's been a long time coming, but we are proud to be standing here in front of a facility that will serve the community for decades to come. RCMP Staff Sergeant Colby Argue spoke to the Banner and Press on behalf of the detachment. He said they are incredibly excited about the new space and what it means for the region. This is a big step for us. Members of the detachment have been watching this place be constructed. This was nothing but an open field in April of last year when we did the sod turning ceremony. So we are so pleased to be here today looking at this impressive facility that is going to serve Neepawa and area so well, stated Argue. In the previous detachment building, we had really outgrown it, and there were safety issues as well. With some of the features of this new building, those issues are addressed. It's double the size. We have multiple interview rooms, backup power generator to ensure continuity of service for the community. We have a police equipment room, file storage room, and a modern cell block. Just a lot of things that we didn't have previously. This building reflects the up-to-date standards from detachments right across Canada. It's all been incorporated into this. Every part of this building is for function and safety. Argue added that Modernization of the cell block just might be the most important aspect of the new building. The old detachment featured bars on the cells, while the new has the current contemporary enclosure standards and direct video supervision. There's no bars, it's all metal doors, and every part of the cell block is made for safety. In the old building, we'd have to take prisoners out of cells and take them through the office to get to the interview room. Now we have a completely secure cell block with interview rooms in the back. It's a very secure area. It's just safer for the public and police officers working there. As part of the grand opening, the public was invited to tour the inside of the building, including several locations that are not normally accessible to them. The interview rooms and cells could all be viewed, as were the office space. Pictures of the interior, however, were not permitted. That request for no interior video or picture to be taken was also intended to the banner and press. The road to this announcement has been a long one for the town of Neepawa, as the council of the time began exploring discussions with the RCMP back in the 2000s. For several years, the two sides would meet annually to discuss policing issues relevant to Neepawa and the need for a new detachment. After years of deliberation, the RCMP issued an agreement in principle in 2018 to proceed with a partnership for a 25-year detachment lease with the town. Over the next 2 years, a new detachment concept then progressed through the discussion and design stage. The lease agreement between Neepawa and the RCMP sees the town paying for the initial construction costs, but then be completely reimbursed with interest. The town would also then lease a portion of the new detachment for use by the provincial RCMP contingent. And here we have a few pictures to show you. Obviously, this is the whole version of the new building. It's beautiful. And here we have Sergeant Colby Argue being presented with a commemorative print for the new building, and it is being given by the Inspector Paul Peddle of the Central Plains District Command. And here we have a picture of some of not all of them were able to attend this, but these are some of the current RCMP members that work at this detachment. Very, very nice to have in our community. All right, now Jodie Byram confirmed as PC candidate for Agassiz by Owen Devereaux. The Manitoba Progressive Conservative Party, or PC, are the first out of the gate in terms of nominating a candidate in Agassiz for the next provincial election. Jodie Byram, seen here, has been affirmed as the party's candidate to be the next member of the Legislative Assembly, or the MLA, for the electoral district. Byram was nominated by acclamation at a party meeting in Gladstone on Saturday, November the 5th. While this is Byram's first foray as a candidate, she does have a long career in politics, having served as outgoing MLA Eileen Clark's constituency assistant for the past 7 years. In a personal message posted to social media, Clark applauded the party's decision to go with Byram, stating, "Jodie has been an outstanding constituency assistant to me the past 7 years. Her dedication to the people of Agassiz and her caring and compassionate way of talking to those who call our office for assistance has not gone unnoticed," stated Clark. "You have more than earned the honor of walking the marble halls of the Manitoba legislature." The Banner and Press had a chance to speak with Byram a few days after the acclamation. She said that she was honored to be the nominee. As well, Byram expressed her gratitude to Eileen Clark and the example she has set. "It's a privilege for me to have the opportunity to potentially represent the region in this way and follow in Eileen Clark's footsteps. Having seen the example that Clark has set over the years, she has been a fantastic mentor. She has served well and with integrity. I know what she's done for Agassiz and what she does behind the scenes. I hope I am able to continue her example of integrity. Byram also said she is confident that her knowledge of the district's issues and willingness to put in the work will be of benefit to the residents of Agassiz. The Manitoba PCs are the first political party to confirm a nominee for the electoral district. The Manitoba New Democratic Party, or NDP, or Manitoba Liberal Party have yet to nominate candidates for Agassiz. Under the province's fixed-term elections legislation, the next election must be called on or before October 2nd, 2023. And here we have some more winners. Now this lotto was the 2022 Neepawa and District Medical Committee Farm and Leisure Lotto. And the winners are Norm and Elsie Long. Doesn't say where they're from. Norman plans on paying off some bills, including paying off his truck. Now, the Santa Parade of Lights is coming to Neepawa Saturday, November 26th. And if you go online, you will be able to see the parade route that starts at Yellowhead Center, goes to Hamilton Street, and then up First Avenue and across Commerce. Go to neepawachamber.ca to enter your float. There will also be, and the parade starts at 6 p.m. and there will be a free movie at 2 p.m. at the Roxy Theatre, and Santa will hand out candy bags for the kids at the end of the movie. It doesn't say what the movie is. Now we have a picture here also of Gladstone Golf recognizing members for years of volunteerism. So last week at the Gladstone Golf Club annual general meeting, 4 members were presented with their honorary life membership. All 4 of these individuals have dedicated a tremendous amount of time over the years to volunteering for the betterment of the golf course. So from left to right, we have the president, Gerald Bisson, Murray Antonuck, Leslie Bowden, Alan Stewart, and Alistair Scott standing in for Mel Fisher. Now we have a correction about last week's paper. Last week on page B8 of the Remembrance Day section, there were a couple of errors that the Banner Press wishes to correct. Firstly, the spelling for Grostongrun, as it was written out in the article. Although the spelling appeared as such in the original documents provided by the Memorial Books team, the correct spelling for the location is actually Grostonquin. Secondly, but most importantly, an error regarding the information on Margaret Eleanor Adamson. When the article was being written, the writer interpreted the original copy of information as an obituary due to the style of writing, and so wrote a line beginning with "according to her obituary." However, this was done in error, and it is important to note that Margaret Adamson is still very much alive. The writer, along with the Banner Press, extend their sincerest apologies for these errors, as well their thanks for them being brought forward so they could be addressed and amended. Well, and the movies coming up this weekend at the Roxy Theatre, November 11th and 12th at 7:30 is A Ticket to Paradise, starring George Clooney and Julia Roberts. And on November 18th and 19th at 7:30 p.m. and also November 20th at 2 p.m., the movie entitled Black Adam will be showing. Now, Helen Drysdale, out of Helen's Kitchen. This week it is about cakes. What is a celebration without a cake? Be it vanilla, lemon, chocolate, carrot, bundt, marble, Layered or chiffon cakes held a special place in any celebration or everyday occasion. The word cake was coined by Britain in the 13th century and derived from the Old Norse word kaka. Cakes have been around since ancient times. The first cakes were made with bread dough that had added eggs, butter, honey, nuts, and dried fruit. Advanced technology, from hearth to wood stoves with ovens, improved wheat milling for a more refined flour, and the production of more pans and molds to bake cakes came about in the middle of the 19th century. At that time as well, the development of baking powder and baking soda increased the popularity of baking cakes. In that era, white sugar was scarce and expensive to come by. Molasses was inexpensive, so many of the first cakes were made with molasses for a sweetener. It is believed that the Germans were the first to celebrate birthdays in the manner that we celebrate today. Kinderfest, a birthday celebration for children, had a cake decorated with a candle for each year of their age plus one to represent hope for another healthy year. Cakes in our great-grandmother's day were the yardstick by which a woman's cooking skills were measured. They had to get the right temperature in the wood stove to bake the cake, their special recipe, and the freshest eggs. Then came the holler, "Don't slam the door," or the cake would not fall. So the cake would not fall. We have John Duff of P. Duff & Sons to thank for cake mixes. His company had a molasses surplus. On experimenting, he was successful in turning the syrup into powder and developed a gingerbread baking mix. Duff went on to create different kinds of cake mixes. Despite his assurance of an old-fashioned homemade taste with minimal effort on the part of the cook, the baking mixes really didn't take off until after World War II. And this week, Helen has two cake recipes. One is called lemon chiffon cake, which I remember my mother making many, many times, and a marble cake. So you'll have to go online for those recipes. Now, For Your Listening Ear by Delcy Martin. This week her article is entitled Supporting a Grieving Loved One. Grief is an emotion and a process that all of us are going to encounter at some point in our lives, but this doesn't mean that we all instinctually know how to support someone who is grieving. Supporting a grieving person can feel really hard because no matter what you say, "I'm sorry," will never feel like enough to reflect the grief that your loved one is feeling. No matter what you add to the "I'm sorry" or how you say it, it just doesn't feel adequate. Struggling to support someone who is grieving can be an indication of a deep love for that human because you want to convey your love for them and your desire for them not to be in pain, and that is hard. Let's talk about some ways you can support someone who is grieving in ways that will hopefully feel comfortable for you. Your goal should never be to make them feel better. You can't do that, and giving yourself that expectation is setting yourself up for failure. Your goal is to bear witness to their grief and walk beside them in their journey. Check your expectations. Do you have expectations of what a person's grief should look like? Grief is experienced differently by everyone. It looks different, there are different timelines, and different things help. If you see your loved one laughing, this does not mean that they are over their grief. We want to see people who are grieving laugh, and throughout the process, this is interspersed with normal grief motions. Your loved one may not reach out to you for help. This does not mean that they don't need or want your help. They may just not know what they need at this time. If you don't know what to say, you can say, "I don't know what to say, but I'm here for you." Words are not the only indication of your presence. Your loved one can feel your caring energy just by sitting with you in silence. It's okay to convey your understanding of their grief by stating that you have experienced loss. I lost my father too, or can be very helpful, but that's where it should end. If you find yourself talking more than the person who is experiencing grief, then you may have unintentionally taken over the conversation. Don't offer platitudes like, everything happens for a reason. They are given with good intentions, but they really are dismissive. They send the underlying message that you should be okay with this loss because it was meant to be. Timing is important. If you are checking in with your friend, don't do it in a public or unsafe place. Your loved one could be emotionally triggered by your questions, and although emotions are very okay, they will want to have control over where those emotions are expressed. It is not up to us to judge anyone else's experience of grief, the intensity of their emotions, how they express their grief, their timeline for their grief, and how they cope with their grief. We have a very important role as supporters of those who are grieving. You can make a real difference in your loved one's life because they know that they have you to turn to. Town Council begin new term by Owen Devereaux. Neepawa's new leadership for the next 4 years has begun its tenure. On Tuesday, November the 1st, 4 incumbent council members and 2 newcomers took their oaths of office at the town of Neepawa municipal building. The group consists of a new mayor, Brian Headley, as well as councillors Daryl Gerard, Marika Kostenchuk, Jason Nadeau, Marie Parrott, Lisa Pottinger, and Yvonne Sisley. After being sworn in, the new council immediately got down to business. The first order of business was the confirmation of a new deputy mayor. For that position, Marie Parrott was appointed by Mayor Headley and received a full vote of confidence from the other members of council. Next up was the announcement of suggested council member committee appointments. These appointments were made through discussion from Mayor Headley and administration for the town of Neepawa. Members of council serve on a variety of local and regional organizations, including Community of the Whole, which is all members of the council. The Board of Revision, also all members of the council. Human Resources Committee, Mayor Headley, Councillor Gerard. General Government and Finance, Gerard and Pottinger. Neepawa Area Planning District, Parrott and Headley. County Court Building Committee, Gerard and Kostenchuk. Estate Management, Nadeau and Kostenchuk. Federation of Canadian Municipalities, General Membership. Community Services Committee, Pottinger and Kostenchuk. Neepawa Veterinary Service District, Sisley. Home Assistant Neepawa and District, Kostenchuk. Neepawa and Area Disabled Persons Association, Sisley. Physician Recruitment Committee, Parrott. Spruce Plains Justice Committee, Nadeau. Public Works and Infrastructure, Parrott and Sisley. Evergreen Environmental Technologies, Headley. Trans-Canada Yellowhead Highway Association, General Membership. Manitoba Good Roads Association, General Membership. Recreation and Economic Development, Sisley and Pottinger. Western Regional Library, Nadeau, Bill Stillwell as Citizen Representative. White Mud Watershed Conservation, Gerard and Stillwell as Citizen Rep. Neepawa Area Development Corporation, Parrott and Pottinger. Yellowhead Centre, Nadeau. Yellowhead Economic Corridor, Nadeau. Rossburn Subdivision Trails Association, Nadeau. These are the initial suggested appointments for these organizations, and the final appointments could be altered to accommodate council member schedules and availability. Next, Neepawa COPP or COP program, recruiting new members. The Neepawa Citizens on Patrol are here to help make our community a safer place for all. We rely on the dedicated volunteers who work in cooperation with the Neepawa RCMP office and the community at large. We are encouraged that the Neepawa Town Council continues to take a proactive stance on crime prevention and awareness and fully support the COPP program in Neepawa. The Neepawa Citizens on Patrol program has been in existence since 1997. The program goals and objectives are to provide a presence in the community through patrolling in vehicles, on foot or on bikes, to educate the community on crime prevention through members of the various other province-wide COPP teams, and to increase the community awareness on crime-related issues such as theft, vandalism, auto theft, auto damage, and driving offenses. Members act as the eyes and ears for our local RCMP detachment members. They observe and report criminal activities to the patrolling RCMP members on duty. Ultimately, COPP hopes to make the community citizens feel safer and reduce the incidence of crime in the community. The Neepawa COP are part of the Provincial Citizens on Patrol program, which provides support and resources to local groups throughout the provincial network. Our Community Citizens on Patrol program are currently actively recruiting new members for the program. Any community members interested in joining us in patrolling of the Neepawa area can contact Clint McKechnie, Program Coordinator. For more information, call 204-476-0054 or 204-841-4180 or by email at clint_lois@goinet.ca. All right, next we have some sports to talk about. Curling Championship will be a showcase for Neepawa. Preparations underway for Yellowhead to host Viterra Men's Championship by Owen Devereaux. Neepawa will soon be the center of the curling world as it prepares to host the Provincial Men's Curling Championship. In just under 3 months' time, the top men's teams will converge for the Viterra Championship. The 2023 edition of Manitoba's premier men's curling event will be at the Yellowhead Centre from February 7th to 12th. Neepawa does have some history with holding an event of this scale, as it was a previous host to the championship back in 2013. That year saw massive crowds witness all the draws live and in person. As for the action on the ice that year, Jeff Stoughton and his Charleswood rink defeated Sean Grassie of Deer Lodge 7-4 to claim the title. For the 2023 event, there will be a guaranteed new provincial champion, as last year's winners, the Mike McEwen squad, have split to join 3 different teams. Scott Newton, who is one of the organizing committee co-chairs along with Heather Toderick, recently sat down to talk about the event with the Banner and Press. Newton said everyone involved is excited about getting the opportunity to host the championship. He said this is a big deal. It's one of the biggest sporting events held in Manitoba each year. In terms of teams, sponsors, media, and obviously curling fans, there are going to be a lot of people coming to Neepawa that week. We're hopeful that we'll be able to showcase the community and put on an amazing event, said Newton. The executive committee that was put together has been working on this throughout the summer, laying the groundwork and finalizing ticket sales and ticket packages. We're all working on sponsorships and volunteer recruitment. There is a fair amount of work that is done behind the scenes to get something like this organized, but it's worth it. Newton said one important item on their to-do list is arranging volunteers to help with the operation of the event. We're trying to recruit people and get them to sign up to work at the event. That's what makes a community event like this a success. It's an uptake of volunteers. We need people to commit to it early rather than later. There's a clothing order that needs to go along with the volunteer list, and that takes time. For an event like this to be successful, Newton said they'd likely need roughly 300 volunteers to put this on successfully. Though that may sound like some daunting number to reach, Newton said that there are a wide array of jobs and time commitments available that will work with anyone's schedule. I'm sure there will be people that can volunteer 4 hours, or people that will be wanting to volunteer 12 or more hours over the course of that week. The volunteers are a very important part of this event, and if you were able to help out in any way, we would appreciate the support. Newton added that this is a very special event, and we as a community will hopefully see this as Neepawa's chance to showcase who we are across the province. Anyone interested in helping at the event can contact the committee by emailing volunteerneepawa2023@gmail.com to learn more. As well, Newton said, due to the community not having enough hotel rooms for all the people who will be in town that week, anyone willing to offer accommodations should contact them. We have limited hotel rooms, so the way other host towns have dealt with that issue is they have got some people with houses who might be away at this time. They could rent out their house to a teen to stay at or something like that, Newton said. If that is something you are interested in, reach out to myself or Heather Toderick to voice your willingness to help out. Ticket sales for the Viterra Provincial Men's Curling Championship begin on December the 1st. Those purchase details will be posted online and in the banner and press in the future. Any profits from hosting the event will go towards the continued operations of the Yellowhead Centre and the Neepawa Curling Club, which are both volunteer operated. Okay. And more sports. Neepawa Tigers win the Murray Black Cup. Here in this picture, E.J. Mapapak shakes off a pair of players for the Southwest Sabres during the Murray Black Cup on Saturday, November the 6th. Here we have the entire NACI Tigers roster celebrate with the championship banner after defeating Southwest 25-6. And here we have several Tigers celebrating a play by teammate Brody Pollock. And here we have the head coach, Chitty Small, presented with the provincial banner for the Rural Football League Murray Black Cup. And speaking of the coach, he was nominated for Coach of the Year. The head coach for the Neepawa Tigers football team is getting some well-deserved recognition, as Chitty Small has been nominated for the Rural Manitoba Football League's Coach of the Year. Small, along with Interlake Thunder head coach Mitch Obach and his offensive coordinator Christoph Hasselfield, are up for the award. Small was able to coach what was considered an inexperienced roster at the start of the year to a 4-3 record and the Murray Black Cup. Several Tigers players were also up for individual awards. Winners will be announced in the very near future. Now we have an article about the Neepawa Farmers hockey team by Owen Devereaux. There have been some early season growing pains for the Neepawa Farmers in the Tiger Hills Hockey League, the THHL. The team is going through a little bit of a change with its roster, as several veteran players have decided to step aside this year. The Souris Elks were able to take advantage of this change in the level of senior league experience for Neepawa, beating the Farmers 6-4 on Friday, November the 4th. This was the second straight home loss for Neepawa to start the regular season, as they were bested the previous week in their home opener against McGregor. The Elks jumped out to an early lead, scoring just 49 seconds in the first period. While Neepawa put the pressure on for the equalizer throughout the rest of the period, Souris was able to hold on to the 1-goal lead. The second period turned into a figurative shooting gallery out there on the ice with 8 goals scored. Whew. The Elks and Farmers split the difference on that number, scoring 4 apiece. For Neepawa, it was former natives Kyle McDonald with 2 goals, Corbin Mariash with 1 goal, and Ward Susky with 1 goal, who notched the goals for the home side. Souris matched that output in the middle frame, allowing them to go up into the third period 5-4. Overtime would then be the Elks, who tallied the only goal. Would then be the Elks, I guess that's a name, who tallied the only goal for the third, securing them the 6-4 victory. McDonald led Neepawa with 3 points in total, 2 goals and 1 assist, while fellow Natives alumni Reagan Buchanan, Brad Marshall, and Garrett Rempel all had a pair of assists to their names. The loss drops the Farmers to 0-2-0 on the season. The next 3 games for the Farmers will be on the road to Verdun, Maleta, and Wawanesa. The team is back at the Yellowhead Centre on Sunday, November the 20th for a game versus the Hartney Blues. Now, I think this is hockey still, yes. High school hockey by Owen Devereaux. The Neepawa Tigers opened up their West Bend High School Hockey League season with a huge road win in Minnedosa. The Tigers scored 10 goals, including 5 in the third period, to power themselves to a 10-3 win over the Chancellors on Friday, November 4th. Ward Brister appeared to already be in mid-season form, as he collected a hat trick on the night. He also had a pair of assists to make it a 5-point night. Brister wasn't the only one to take over the stat line, as Tarek Lapointe and Jory Kulbaki also contributed big, each notching a pair of goals and assists, respectively. Cohen Kulbaki had 1 goal and 3 assists, Lance Murray 3 assists, Callan Dembo 1 goal, 1 assist, and Tristan Friesen 1 goal, 1 assist, also had a multiple point nights for NACI. The Tigers followed up their massive win in Minnedosa with an almost equally impressive outing in Sandy Bay on Tuesday, November 8th. Jory Kulbaki had a pair of goals and 3 assists to lead Neepawa to a 6-1 victory. Cohen Kulbaki, 2 goals, Tarek Lapointe, 2 goals, were also major factors in the win, while Gatlin Platt made 20 saves in goal for the Tigers. Neepawa ended up outshooting Sandy Bay 61-21 over the course of the game, though these results give Neepawa a 2-0-0 record on the season. The next game for the NACI Hockey Tigers is scheduled for Sunday, November 13th against Swan Valley Tigers, who are 1-3-0 with 2 points. The start time at the Yellowhead Centre in Neepawa is set for 6:30 p.m. And for the Neepawa Titans Junior A hockey team, the next regular home season is November 12th at 7:30 p.m. against Selkirk. Then November 19th at 6:30 p.m. against Verdun. Okay. Subdivisions and snow removal signed off. This is Town Council news from November the 1st, 2022 by Owen Devereaux. The first official meeting of the recently elected council for the town of Neepawa usually has a relatively light agenda to it. Nonetheless, there were still a couple of items of note that needed to be looked after, including the following. The town of Neepawa and Manitoba Infrastructure and Transportation have agreed to a new snow removal deal for 2022-23. An agreement has to be made between the two sides. It is for the removal of snow from Mountain Avenue, which does fall under the MIT's jurisdiction. The rate paid for snow removal will be $9,597, which is unchanged from last year. The subdivision of land for the new hospital site in Neepawa is progressing. Council approved in partnering with Shared Health and Prairie Mountain Health on any subdivision conditions that remain unfinished, such as drainage, traffic studies, or other matters. As for councillor reports, they are as follows. Councillor Jason Nadeau offered an update from the Westman and Regional Library Board. He indicated that an increase of 50 cents to the library levy was approved. Councillor Kostenchuk reported that on October 21st, the Neepawa District Handy Van and Legion Ladies Auxiliary held a fundraiser at the Legion Hall in Neepawa. A large number of people attended and was a great success, with $3,452 raised. Kostenchuk thanked everyone who was involved in organizing the event and the members of the public and local businesses who supported it through their donations. Councillor Yvonne Sisley informed Council of the recent Monster Mash event held at Arts Forward. It was a massive success and extremely well attended. Councillor Murray Parrott provided Council with details on the planned upgrades to the Beautiful Plains Medical Clinic. The vehicle exit on Mountain Avenue has been improved and should be reopened soon. Curve Construction has been awarded the contract for the roof replacement and canopy installation for the clinic. A luncheon celebration was also recently held for Dr. Ong, who has retired his practice. And here's a picture of a brand new building going up in Neepawa. The framework for the roof of the new home hardware building in Neepawa has started being installed on site. Great news. And the Neepawa Titans Junior A Hockey Club has announced their 2022 cash draw. Only 800 tickets will be sold, $100 per ticket or 3 for $250. Only 100 of those 3 packs available. There'll be 5 draws of 1,000, 6 draws of, draw 6 will be $20,000 and the total prizes will be $25,000. And there will be also a 50-50 draw. Winner will receive 50% of total 50-50 sales. Those tickets are 5 for $50. Final draws will be Tuesday, December the 20th. Oh, so that's not too far away to better get your cash draw tickets soon. The deadline for ticket sales is Tuesday, December 20th at 7:45, and the draw will be made at 8 o'clock. There's a few things here about building for tomorrow today. This is all by the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation. Save the date for February 18th, 2023, the Yellowhead Center. There will be a fundraiser for the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation called Dancing with the Stars. Join us for an amazing night of entertainment. Also coming up, Be a Snitch or Confess Your Crime and help raise money for the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation. Tuesday, November 15th from 11:30 in the morning till 1:30 p.m. at Century 21 office, 406 Mountain Avenue. Visit www.beautifulplainscf.ca to complete a form for yourself or arrestee. Form must be submitted by November the 7th. Oh, that's already over. All funds raised will go to the Giving Challenge on for the week of November 14th to the 20th. Thank you to the following sponsors and volunteers that made the 2022 farm project possible: Jason Sumner, Mardi Enterprises, Neepawa Gladstone Co-op, Duncalf Trucking, Red Fern Farm Services, Pioneer Dundonald, Farmers Edge, Aleki Dominico, Jack Falk, and Jamie Dembo. And also, JC Hard Hat Golf Tournament raised over $10,000 for the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation Community Endowment Fund. All right, so I'm just going to go back to where I missed a page. There we go. And we will read these. I'll start with Rita Friesen this week, Homebodies. This week it's called A Quiet Pause to Remember. I was deeply moved, strangely moved, as I stood and lifted my voice with the others of my faith family, and led by the choir, we sang the prayer, God, keep our land glorious and free. It was Peace Sunday, the Sunday nearest to November 11th. A service in which we pause to remember the effects and results of conflicts, honor all those who have served and are serving, and give thanks for our freedoms. Perhaps it is my age, perhaps it is the precious family histories that have been shared with me, perhaps it is from the books I've read and the history I have studied, and perhaps it is from the travel experiences I have gathered, but my definition of freedom is quite different from one that is commonly discussed today. Having paused in Auschwitz, having drunk deeply at a public meeting in a synagogue in Groningen, where a descendant of the Holocaust survivor and a daughter of an SS officer shared their histories and pled for peace and understanding, having been humbled by the monument to the Holocaust in the Moscow Museum, having toured the home of Anne Frank, I am forever changed. My view of freedom: I am free to attend a place of worship of my choice. I am free to speak to whom I choose. I am free to own my home. And the list goes on. I am free. God, keep our land glorious and free. May we daily utter this plea. Still standing, we were led into another prayer and song. God save our gracious King. In my memory, I have only asked that for our Queen. It was a natural shift. I never flubbed the words once. Here, too, I was moved. I have always been a royalist. Only after the scrapbooks I created when a youth filled with royal clippings became musty and moldy did I reluctantly discard them. It is not the wealth, prestige, or power of the monarchy that intrigued me. I have given this some thought. It is a person in position of authority and power, performing their work with dignity, strength, and purpose. The service was only days before Remembrance Day. The service set the tone for me perfectly. The 2 minutes of silence while the names of those from our community who served scrolled on the overhead, the laying of the wreaths by Legion members, the tribute, they shall not grow old as we grow old. My heart has been heavy these past days for loved ones in our communities, for the unrest in this world, the divisions in families and countries, for the unknown. This quiet pausing to remember and give thanks came at the right time. For me, it does come down to this: let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. May I, with my words and deeds, provide a safe place for others to grow, to confide, to confess, to find healing. I cannot, nor do I wish to, control the thoughts and actions of others, robbing them of their freedoms. One can do a whole lot of thinking in 2 minutes of silence. Now, Faithfully Yours by Neil Stoshine, 12 MLVs, Part 11. The story you are about to read is true. Although names have been changed to avoid identifying its main characters, there is nothing in this story for which anyone need to be ashamed. It has a very happy ending and taught me a lesson that I've never forgotten. It began in February of 1969. The teacher's strike I wrote about in last week's column was over. We had written and hopefully passed our January departmental exams and were settling into our second semester of classes, one of which was Physics 30. It was my smallest class, less than 10 students. I don't recall the exact number. Our teacher was familiar with the course material. He sure knew his stuff, but for reasons which I would not discover until 5 years later, found it very difficult to share what he knew with us. After 1 month in this class, Rob, one of my classmates, not his real name, Rob and I paid a visit to the school principal. We had a simple request. We asked if we could purchase copies of the Physics 30 correspondence course. We would go through the worksheets and do the assignments on our own to help us master the concepts we learned in class. The principal looked at us, smiled approvingly, and ordered the material. We each paid for the packets, and in our next study period, we went to work. What happened next surprised us even more. When we explained what we were doing to our teacher, he made us an offer we couldn't refuse. If we would allow him to join our little study circle, he would help us work through the difficult parts of the course. We gladly accepted his offer, and we quickly learned that while our teacher might not have excelled as a lecturer, he was an excellent tutor. We learned a lot from him, and I think he really enjoyed watching us teach and learn from each other. One student whose achievement in Physics 30 amazed us all was Jeff, again not his real name. Jeff was not a straight A student. He had to work very hard just to get a passing grade on most of his courses. I don't recall him ever speaking about his career choice or post-secondary education plans. What I remember about him is that he loved physics. So when given the opportunity, he purchased the correspondence course and joined our Physics 30 study circle. The change that came over him shocked us all. For the rest of that semester, Jeff received one-on-one instruction and coaching from every member of our study circle. He quickly mastered the course material, and he went into the final exam with more confidence than we had ever seen in him. Later that fall, I ran into Rob. "Neil," he said, "has anyone told you how Jeff did on his Physics 30 final?" No one had. "He got 65%, Rob said enthusiastically, but that wasn't his only piece of news. Every member of our study circle has scored at least 90% on that final, and most of us got better than that. I got 97, just reporting facts. The lesson I learned has remained with me to this day. When you invest your time, talent, and energy in serving others, you help yourself as well. What you give to others comes back to you with added value. Of all the memories I have of my years in public school, this one is the happiest. Thanks for letting me share it this week." Blowing the Dust Off by Joel Asselstein, entitled Pat Dempsey, First Mayor of Neepawa. I will admit my research in old books can carry me only so far. My quest for knowledge has birthed out of a line from an auction that was signed Pat Dempsey, First Mayor of Neepawa, 1882. Whew. Now, I didn't know if you are aware and up to date with Neepawa history, but Pat Dempsey doesn't sound like J.J. Hamilton to me, the first recorded mayor of Neepawa in 1883. So who was this man? This question sent me looking into Neepawa's history to see what I could find, and I found a direct mention and a possible one. The later is more likely than likely a son or nephew, if it is true at all. The first incredible source was found on page 137 of the book 75 Years of the Keystone Province, Neepawa Land of Plenty. Long-winded title for a book, if you ask me, but I finally found more information about Patrick Dempsey. Although it was only one paragraph, it read, Mayor Pat, according to Fred L. Davis, an old story names the late Patrick Dempsey as the town's first mayor. This was an unofficial election in 1882, before Neepawa's actually a town, and was hatched up by the ambitious young men of the town who felt that the new community must be dignified by having at least a titular mayor. Due to his songs and his fun-loving disposition, Pat was the popular choice. Well, now I know he liked to sing and was a fun-loving guy, but who was he? If tales are correct, the next mention of Pat in the annals of history are in the records of a soccer match between Neepawa and Carberry in 1921. After World War I, the retired soldiers and fathers formed a soccer team and faced off against each other in Portage la Prairie. The reason I consider this record as non-credible is thus the same story, but lacking the mention of Patrick Dempsey, in stating that it took place in 1908 instead of 1921. But I digress. The story goes that Neepawa and Carberry faced off each other on a Friday afternoon at 2 p.m. and played for 3.5 hours before stopping for supper, then proceeded to play from 6 to 9 p.m., which then they delayed the game to the next morning at 7. Still tied at 0 at noon, Carberry was forced to forfeit as their train arrived first and was departing in an hour. It is noted that Pat Dempsey tried to talk with the conductors to delay the departure of the train, but they refused. After a quick dive through the archives of the Neepawa Banner, and upon the lead and information of a very helpful hometown historian, thank you, Norma Forsman, I couldn't do half of this without you. I have found the last known to me mentions of Patrick Dempsey. Patrick Dempsey, born in 1842 in Neepawa, lived in the Osprey district until moving to Neepawa sometime before his unofficial mayorship. Later in life, at age 44, he married Lucinda Eleanor Coburn. He survived his wife in 1929 as she passed away at the age of 70, and he would join her on January 29th, 1931, 2 years later. Both are buried at the Riverside Cemetery in unmarked graves. From website searches to town history books and even old newspapers, I have exhausted my avenues of new information, and I am infuriated. So I ask, if any residents have any information on the first mayor of Neepawa, I would greatly appreciate it. Oh. All right, Right in the Middle by Ken Waddell. The views expressed in this column are the writer's personal views and are not to be taken as being the view of the Neepawa Banner and Press. This week it's entitled, What Choice Do You Make When There Are No Good Choices? By the time this column sees the light of day, the United States will have conducted their midterm elections. The U.S. midterms serve a couple of purposes. They serve a sort of referendum on the sitting president's performance. It's like a halfway performance review, and it's rare that presidents do all that well. This year, the aging, faltering President Joe Biden is expected to get a poorer review. Of course, he will stay in office as he is not on these midterm ballots. Most pundits are estimating he will be punished for his economic performance by voters defeating Democrats candidates for Senate and House seats. How the midterms go, that is, which party dominates, will be pivotal as to who runs for president. Biden, as noted above, is ailing in a number of ways. He seems frail in body and mind at times, and he turns 80 this month. In my humble opinion, he is not a great option for president. If his Democratic Party candidates get beat up pretty bad, the party and Biden should go shopping for a new presidential candidate. The alternative is worse on the Republican side, in my opinion, in the form of Donald Trump. Trump has a 4-year advantage over Biden at age 76, but Trump suffers as many deficits as Biden. He is in many legal battles. Like Biden, he is often separated from the truth, and he is hated by his opponents. Biden is disdained, but Trump is hated. As I have said many times, If Trump and Biden are the two best choices for president, they can come up with the country is in huge trouble. If the Democrats win, Biden will likely run again in 2024, and he will be 82. If the Republicans win, it's almost certain that Trump will run in 2024, and he will be 78. It's hard to determine which man is the craziest. The U.S. electorate is being played for fools, but many seem to be willing participants in this foolishness. The U.S. elections are a huge business. The elections of House of Representatives members cost millions of dollars. The House of Representatives is somewhat equivalent to our House of Commons in Ottawa. I have been part of elections and somewhat familiar with the Dauphin Swan River Neepawa constituency. Our MP Dan Mazier and the DSRN have likely never spent more than $100,000 on an election. In Canada, companies and individuals can only donate small amounts of money to parties and candidates. There seems to be no limits in the U.S., and it's very distorting. The U.S. news media outlets would be very upset if there were limits on political spending, as it must be a huge part of their income. With nationwide elections every 2 years, the campaigns run almost constantly. The cash flow to media is continuous and huge. The voting results are going to pivot on issues that many people have ignored. In spite of the hype, the pivotal issues are not gender or abortion or religion. It goes back to Bill Clinton's insight from years ago, the economy. Under current conditions, the perception is that Republicans and Trump would be better for the economy. The 4 Trump years appear to have been better than the 2 Biden years. When pencil reaches the ballot in the ballot booth, most people will vote for what they see as best for them and their families. Neither Trump nor Biden are very attractive, as they both offer a lot of negatives due to age, dumb statements, legal issues, and a whole range of negative things. Faced with all the negativity, choices come down to the economy and little else. The other issues may well fade away as voters go to polls. All that said, the U.S. voters need better choices, but I am not sure they deserve better. All right, the last thing here I'm going to do is thumbs up, thumbs down. And it's 3 thumbs up this week. A big thumbs up to the Neepawa Healthcare Center doctors and staff. Words can't express our thankfulness for the wonderful care Ken received in the hospital this past week. We are so fortunate to have this fantastic facility filled with caring people in our community. Ken and Sue Plett from Arden, Manitoba. A thumbs up to Jason Young, the superintendent of Beautiful Plains School Division, and Rain Pryor of NACTV for a very informative interview recently on the channel. From Lyle and Judy Watson of Neepawa. And lastly, a thumbs up to the Banner and Press team on an exceptional Remembrance Day feature. I agree. The stories were such an interesting mix of past and present, and all very interesting. Kudos to the team and the advertisers who made it possible. From Kate Jackman Atkinson of Neepawa, Manitoba. So that concludes our edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press this week. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you next week. So bye for now.